Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you in another video. All right, so day after the Lakers won game two, or was that three? Three? Yeah, it's hard to keep up for some reason, but it's the third game. It was at Crypto.com Arena. We got the victory by 10 against the Memphis Grizzlies. Ja went for 45. AD went for a million blocks and steals and 37 or 30, something like that. Anyway, what I was looking at was the points off turnovers. That's what I love to see. We forced eight. We had 11 steals on 18 turnovers there. They had 26 points off 18 turnovers. You just love that for the LA Lakers. We got to continue to try to duplicate that type of defensive production as often as possible, because you're going to win a lot of games when you do it like that. Defense to offense is what we always preach over here. So I'm very pleased with that. Now, Ja Morant, Bron said it best. This is an amazing player. He's really, really good, man. He's just going to do that sometimes, particularly against soft defense, for which I thought we gave him in the fourth quarter. We took our foot off the gas, point blank, period. We relied upon their missed shots as an indicator of how much, in the hole, I guess, they would remain. And that didn't necessarily tell us that they had missed an extraordinary amount of shots, broke a record for the fewest points scored in the quarter in the playoffs, and we just looked at that and assumed that they were going to roll over, and that is not who this team is. The Memphis Grizzlies are a team that is delusional. They run around like they're champions when they haven't done anything at all. So you know they can manifest more confidence off of a loss. It's not a problem for them to find inspiration out of nowhere. If anything, that's what they derive themselves from. Now, if they can only get out of their way and play some of the players that could actually help them, they would be a much better team. And this is one of those situations where, I have a whole conversation to have about the Memphis Grizzlies and how they're approaching this playoff series. But because I'm not, I really don't think it's in our best interest to even put that out there until the series is over, for a multitude of reasons, but none better than the fact that we could still get beat, especially the way we're playing. But they could do some things differently, and I suspect that they may. The one thing that I want to say to you guys is we have yet to see all of their weapons, and they have a guy that I've been talking about a lot that they have yet to use, and his name is Kenny Lofton. And I know he can do a lot of things because this guy is very heavy. He's 270 pounds. Now, my initial thought was to put Wenyen Gabriel on him strictly because Wenyen Gabriel has fresh legs, because we haven't used Wenyen either. So that would be my thing. We can kind of throw Wenyen at him, and Wenyen's a durable player who's played well against bigger people. So, even though he may not get as many stops as you would prefer in these situations when we have him on bigger people, he's still someone we've relied upon to do this a lot of the time when AD was out and Bamba was out. So I don't want to, make this part of the conversation about asking Wenyen to do that more of the same. And looking at the weight differential tells me that, in all honesty, we don't really have anybody heavy enough to throw at Kenny Lofton if he's still as heavy as he was in last I checked, at 270 pounds. That is a massive human being, and we need to be ready for him if and when they call his name. Now, for whatever reason, they haven't trusted him in these playoffs. I'm cool with that. You know what I mean? If that continues, I think that's a recipe for success for the LA Lakers. But the reality is, if they do decide to go to this guy or feature him in a very, predominant way, we're going to have to flop off of this dude to get him off the floor, because otherwise he's going to have his way. And I think that's really what I got to say. He's going to barrel into people. He's going to create contact. He's going to get to the line. He's going to make his shots, and he can hit threes. So, I'm very, very pleased at Taylor Jenkins as a Laker fan for not playing Kenny Lofton. Thank you very much. And also for not featuring Luke Kennard more, too. These are things that are really helping us a lot. And it's one of those situations where it's like, Taylor Jenkins, I've told you guys that I think he's a really good coach, and he's shown us that he can make some really good adjustments, particularly that in game 2. But I'm pretty certain our coach won the coaching battle yesterday in game 3. I can say that. I think Darvin Ham won that one. We just, the start that we got out to, the buttons that we pressed earlier in the game, that small ball lineup that had AD and then who was it? It was a few players down there. I think it was D'Lo, Austin. I think he had Beasley. I think that's how that went. Putting D'Lo at the 3. It was something that I looked at and cringed, but then saw the result and said, okay, I understand the multiple playmakers around AD and multiple playmakers around Malik Beasley, so that he can have, both of those guys can have more opportunities to get featured, since that would be the point of that position, having that lineup on the floor. As I think about how it performed, AD was able to pull down easy boards because it matched up with what they had on the floor as well. So it kind of made sense we were doing it that way, so long as it matches up with the other team. And I think we'd get away with D'Lo playing the 3, especially since he has a slower kind of style right now, and you consider the fact that he's slowing down our pace. One of the things that people do with small forwards when they start to age is start to move them to the 4 because they start to slow down. If D'Lo is giving us a dynamic that we can't very much appreciate, slowing our pace down from the point guard position, maybe it does make more sense to try to experiment with him at other positions to where that pace doesn't necessarily translate to you being slower as a team because there's another playmaker in the lineup keeping that pace for you. Hence why I didn't mind having, I think, Dennis Schroeder or Austin Reeves in that lineup. But not so much Dennis Schroeder because of the size differential, which is why I think he had Austin in it, and I think that's why I approve. But it's all vague to me. But either way, I understand the dynamic of that lineup. And then AD is supposed to be able to clear everything up and provide so much defensive upside in the lineup to all of your defensive deficiencies shouldn't necessarily be glaring. And then you have the length because D'Lo's long enough and tall enough to get away with putting him at the 3 spot. Austin is as well. It doesn't matter which one you play, 2-3. And then you have Beasley down there being the only short player who would most definitely be considered a quasi 2, not necessarily handling the ball. And then they can feature him and then feature AD and then get their own shot as well. And you got spacing all over the floor because they can all hit the 3. So I like that lineup. Even though I'm not a fan of small ball, that experiment didn't anger me. It didn't anger me at all, Darvin. I thought that really looked good out there. And it made sense. If you're trying to put Beasley on the floor, that's the type of thing I want. Let him be the only small person out there. And that way, his weaknesses aren't as glaring. Now, for me, I would prefer a bit more support for Anthony Davis in the front court in most situations. I want somebody next to him to help him with things because that's a lot of jumping, coming down, possibility on somebody's leg, possibility of spraining something, whatever. I don't want to see any increases on that possibility given the fact the circumstances we deal with his health. So if we have somebody next to him like Winyan, Mo, Bron, I don't actually think Bron is great in that situation, to be honest with you, unless he's playing with somebody else on top of that. Again, Bron at the 3, Rui or somebody else in that lineup as well that's big for the same reason. I don't think they necessarily help one another in that way as much as I would want. Somebody else bigger, more so fit to play bigger roles should be complementing both of them while they're on the floor together, rather than asking them to be the bigs. But neither, is what we're necessarily focused on. But it's more so about having multiple ball handlers, which is why you want Bron in that lineup. But you want to be mindful of the spacing and all of those different things. Make sure that the lineup gets the most out of itself, because at the end of the day, you're trying to mask Beasley's holes. Essentially, is what we're looking at is the best way to feature Beasley when you want to put him on the floor. How can you make it make sense? That lineup made sense in yesterday's situation. So that's really where I was going with that. What else, man? Rui Hachimura, as I said in the video yesterday, he just needs more minutes. I like that we gave him as many looks as we did, but he can't help us if he's not on the floor. One of the reasons why they were able to come back in the game, I believe, is because we didn't feature him enough. So, Ja Morant is obviously a hard target to try to defend, but it's much more difficult when you have bigger people on the floor at the rim, keeping him from driving at the rim. You want to make sure you have enough foot speed out there. But I gotta say, man, I'd forgotten about this. Just kind of slipped through the cracks. It's very important. Dennis Schroeder, fighting around screens is a must, brother. I don't know if that was a schematic thing that we chose to do or just him not choosing to fight around the screens. But whatever the case may be, when you go that far underneath a screen on a guy like Ja Morant, he probably will shoot you down. And we did that twice, and he did that very thing. And those were key threes that got them back in the game. I don't know if I should be angry at Schroeder or coach for asking Schroeder to do that, but I did not think that helped us in any way. And then you couple that with Dennis Schroeder's turnovers and miscues. I just thought that there was a black eye on the game. So even though I said, hey, congratulations for giving us aggression, I need that aggression to turn into some real good play. And of course, that has to do with Dennis doing things that he should be doing, not necessarily stuff that other people should be doing. You know, I think that that's part of the problem. We're asking Dennis to be more of a playmaker instead of asking him to just run and be a field guy out there offensively and defensively. I don't mind that we put him on Ja, but if he's going to play off of screens in that way, if he's going to cheat off of screens and go under screens the wrong way, it's a nightmare for us. And then you have to switch back to D'Lo, and D'Lo's kind of, not really all there shooting the ball in rampant ways. I just need more out of my point guard spot, man. That was a big part of why they got back in the game. They were a big part of the overall energy to me in terms of letting people back in the game. I was talking about D'Lo, a lot of that. Last night it wasn't just Bron and AD when I was considering our stars who have that mentality, who kind of decompress and take their foot off the gas and kind of relax. D'Lo was a big part of that energy, huge part. And that's really what it comes down to. I need that to stop, man. You can't be too cool for school in the playoffs, and you can't be too reckless with shooting. Just because you have the ability to hit some spectacular shots did not mean that they make any sense in the playoffs for your team, dude. I'm just going to be honest with you. Some of them set shots he was taking last night, especially if other players are struggling. This is what we talk about a lot on this channel. It's recognizing what other people are doing wrong and gauging your risk level in regards to what you're willing to do on that. If Schroeder is having a nightmare of a game where he can't get nothing going, and we look over at another player and same thing, I need myself to look in the mirror and say, I cannot do more of what it is they're doing wrong. Not on this night. I need to shore up my turnovers even more. I need to hit my free throws even more. Whatever the next guy is not doing well, I need to make damn sure I'm extra keen on getting right. And that's why paying attention to the stats does hold some relevance for players. Because if you're not paying attention to those things, how can you really be certain? You know what I mean? So I think that brings me back to a space where it's like, we can keep balance with analytics and field, because you need them both. The analytics and the numbers will help you understand these type of things here. So that's what I want to see us do. Let's get back on track and help each other, have each other's back. If Austin is cold, then we need to make sure that D'Lo's not jacking up bad shots. If Bron is going 1 for 9 from behind the arc, we need to make sure that Troy Brown is not attempting 5 and 6 threes, which we're really good about, but these are just examples. Dennis Schroeder is going 5 for 9 at the line. We need to make sure Anthony Davis is more keen at making more free throws than otherwise. These are the type of things that are so important in overall keeping your team playing well. Is being cognizant of what the other guy is doing or not doing, and making sure you don't compound the negativity. So that's really what I want to say there, man. We can get better there, a lot better throughout these playoffs as they progress. So that's what I want to say to D'Lo. I just did not like his shot selection at all. And Schroeder was struggling too much for that, man. Everything Schroeder was doing was either a miscue, turnover. You know what I'm saying? And while I can get on his case too, say the same thing, it's just upon D'Lo at the end of the day, the one who's more aggressive, to be more intentional with each possession he has control over. I can't ask you to be Russell Westbrook as it pertains to rushing at the rim all fast. You're going to get hurt doing that. We know that. That's not his game. Nor should he turn into anybody else. But that pressure needs to come from somewhere else. I like what I saw from Bron yesterday in that regard. I like what I saw from several other players. It's not clicking in my head who all was doing it, but we had that. Rui was definitely doing that, even though he was kind of turning the ball over in certain ways. That pressure holds a lot of weight. It was one play where one of our guys God, I wish I remembered who it was. They drove at the rim, got blocked. But because they rushed at the rim in such a way that was so impactful and put so much pressure on the rim, LeBron James was able to get the rebound, the offensive rebound, and the putback. Now, that doesn't happen if he's going slower at the rim, because that ricochet off that layup, or that ricochet off that block, rather, it doesn't happen in that same pace. If he's going a little slower, the ball's going to do something different in that situation. The defense is going to react slower, and you don't have that pressure on the rim. So that's what people are referring to when they say that. It's literal pressure. When the guys see you rushing fast, they got to hurry up and get to the rim. And in that situation, it's a literal gravity pull that's pulling you toward the situation, and thus going to make the ball do a certain thing at a certain speed. So when we understand this, it's like, okay, we want that pressure on the rim. If D'Lo can't do it, that's fine, but it holds value. That's why Russell Westbrook has the big bucks, because people know that he's going to do that repeatedly, just instinctually, more so than anybody else. You know what I mean? Just because of who he is. So it's like, we need that. We need players who don't do that very much to do that. That's one of the things Malik Beasley is showing me he's actually very good at. Of all the things that we talk about, you can put him in the game for two purposes, not just one. You can put him in the game to shoot, and you can put him in the game to drive at people. He will do that. He will do that. He will put his head down and create problems. And I think that's something we can also utilize him for. And like, yo, we can draw some fouls with this guy, even though he needs to be a better free throw shooter. For him to be a great three-point shooter, he's actually okay at the line. But we want him to continue to try to drive at the rim, especially if that three isn't falling. That's how you help your team. You put pressure on the rim, create them situations. Even if you get blocked at the rim, it can still create a ricochet for somebody like Vando, Bron, AD to get the board. We got the players to do it if we keep them on the floor next to you. So that's what I want to say. I like that. Usually Dennis does that, but Dennis has been worn down a lot. So I don't know if he's as aggressive in these playoffs as we need him to be based on these ankle injuries and stuff like that. But more pressure on the rim. You know, I tell a guy like Vando, that's something you can help your team with as well. You run fast, just like, Rui. You guys really, really, really have extreme speed when you get to a fast pace with the ball in your hands. It can go, and so I think that can be helpful for your team, so long as they don't turn into turnovers. Because I'm telling you, that Rui speed yesterday that we saw in that fast break, even though he turned the ball over, that boy was going, and he is too fast. It's almost like LeBron James or Zion Williamson. The dude moving that fast at that speed, he's going to dunk on whatever's in front of him. You can get dunked on with his strength. I'm telling you, we need to continue to work on his conditioning and try to work on his overall mechanics, because over the next couple of years, if he continues to stay healthy, I'm telling you, I see some really strong upside with this dude. He reminds me of like a Tobias Harris type. You could slip him in as your very fourth or third guy, get like 20, 30 points out of him, and be a really, really good player for you. Sort of like what we wanted Kuzma to be. More effective in that way because he's stronger for us. And I know Kuzma's a more talented overall player, but I'm not sure Rui won't be more effective in the role we want to give him based on his sturdiness and his effectiveness, efficiency from the mid-range. I think Kuzma has gift, but I don't know that the lack of strength wasn't worse for us. You know what I mean? He kind of got pushed around some. Defensively, he was here and there. Rebounding, he started picking it up near the end. Rui's more so further along in his development at this point where we have him. And because of it, I think he can just utilize his body more. He's a mismatch more. I like the fact that we put him in positions to score in the paint over smaller players, which is something I was always telling us to do early when we first acquired him. You can use him in mismatches every single time because he's so dang strong, and nobody smaller than him in this league is pretty much going to have an easy time stopping him from scoring without fouling him hard. So, we can utilize that strength. Players like that are all over the league right now. They're going to be popping up left and right. So we need to keep this dude. And as the price goes up, we need to consider that. We need to consider that on both ends. Can you replace Rui Hachimura? I don't know. But we definitely know the price is going up as he continues to play well. So, something to think about. At the end of the day, I like yesterday's game. For all that I've complained about, I was pretty happy. It was just the things that we do that we're prone to do that Darvin refuses to change that ultimately left us in a position to see more data why he should make those changes. The data's there. So I'm not really sure if I should be more so upset or just continue to look and say, man, I mean, it's piling up. I'm not the only person saying these things. Every night, the roster has to overcome certain things, and those certain things is your second unit. That's the certain things. As soon as you go to that second unit that you've concocted that doesn't work, that has Troy in it and Malik in it and Vando in it or whoever else is in that lineup, it goes to crap. The score goes to absolute crap, man. Yesterday we just happened to have a lead big enough to allow it to be the case. But we did send a bad message to the league that if you do have a special player who can go off like Ja did, you can get back in the game. And I hate to tell you this, as talented and as gifted as Ja is, he's not the best player we're going to see in this way. He's just not. We're going to see more, man. So we need to be respectful of that and understand that this is good for us. This is why I didn't want him to sit in the series. This is exactly why I didn't want him to sit, because we need to get kicked in the mouth by a player like this that can show us that we do have this weakness and we do need to work on it. And the only way you're going to really defeat that weakness is with the sum of your entire parts, meaning everybody that he's sitting every night. That's how you stop Ja Morant. You're going to use those guys to keep the guys that are meant to stop him fresh, so that when he does go off in the fourth quarter, they got fresh legs. I'm telling you, since we dig holes for ourselves anyway, why not go to these players he doesn't trust and let them dig it? What you're going to find out is they're not going to dig it. It's just the crap he chooses to do that's going to dig you the hole, not the stuff that he doesn't do. That stuff would otherwise keep you from digging that hole, which is me speaking in circles and reflecting on how he behaves, giving us the same crap over and over again. It does not work every night, giving us the same results. So that's what it is, man. The second quarter has been bad every game in this series. Maybe not the first game. Honestly, don't remember, so that's not true. But the last game, I think we scored under 20 points in the second quarter as well. The game before that, that's what I'm referring to, rather. We got to do better. We got, like, what is this? You come in with this lineup, it doesn't do anything. 2 games in a row. It's like, come on, brother. The rest of the NBA is seeing this now. I've been telling Laker Nation, everybody in local land has been telling Laker land that we see this crap every night, all season long. But now, the world is watching, darling. The lineup stinks, brother. Get away from it. If you want to utilize Malik Beasley, we saw something that worked. I just called it out. Very pleased with it. But this Troy Brown, Malik Beasley together experiment. Listen, and I'm going to tell you this. Troy Brown is doing more for us than it looks like he is. He's almost like Vanderbilt in a sense because he's doing everything defensively. It's all defense. That's the problem. You got 2 of those guys in regular rotation. Yo, I don't need 2 guys that's not going to score or rebound every single night, eating into the production of the team. That's also part of the problem. You got a Vando and you got a Troy. They strictly defensive most of the time. And with Troy, it's like his offense is very pretty, so you're going to want to feature him, and he's going to be inconsistent. You know, and he's going to jog and then get deflections and jog. And it's like, all right, bro, but I got Vando doing the same thing, so can you contribute a little more or sit down? You know what I mean? That's what it really is. And the coach just keep running him out there because he likes the length, and as I call them, a Band-Aid for the mistake type lineups that we use. That's what I call it. Because you just need him by default to put the length on the floor to overcome some of the stuff that he leaves open. Otherwise, it would be even more open. But it's like he don't contribute. You know what I'm saying? He just out there. You know what I mean? So it's like, and the plays that we use in these lineups are so deliberate because it's so obvious you need to get Beasley the ball. So we're getting Beasley the ball, and then Beasley must hit the shot. And you see how deliberate all of this is? That's so much pressure on the player to hit the shot as opposed to it coming in the flow of the game. It's like you got a struggling player and you're going to put a spotlight on him. You know what I mean? It's like, no, Darwin, you got to do the opposite, man. The stuff that he's doing needs to be off screens, off ball screens, him being able to separate from his defender and then run into a certain spot in rhythm and catch a pass in rhythm and let it off in rhythm. That's the type of stuff you want Beasley doing. You don't want him in a play that's going to be mechanic and then you put all the spotlight on him to hit the shot and then it's just like, and it bricks and it's like, oh, it's like, that's so dramatic. That's the absolute opposite environment you want to put a player who's struggling in. You know what I'm saying? You want him on back cuts getting easy layups. You know what I mean? You want the crowd roaring about him before he even starts taking those type of shots. You know what I'm saying? So it's just about how you utilize the weapon. And for me, I don't need him in those lineups. I need somebody who's just going to keep playing ball. I don't need, you know what I mean? Not these moments that have to be created to feature him in these second units. It's like, nah, I don't need none of that. Just keep the flow of the game going. Put somebody in similar size on the floor. Feature Austin a little more now since Braun's sitting down. Give him a bunch of looks. Get Rui going. Give him a bunch of looks. Get Schroeder going. Drive in at the rim. Like, these are things that you do in the second unit while Braun and AD are sitting down. It's common dang sense. Utilize your second chance points opportunities with a guy like Wenyen Gabriel. Slot him at the 4 properly. Next to Rui Hachimura if you want to. Maybe not. Don't matter to me. You know what I'm saying? But these are things you could do with your second unit. Then you put Troy Brown in some of those units. Maybe double down on the length that he already is and allow him to shine in those units. Getting 50-50 balls and all that other stuff. You know, it's not that hard. But we make it hard on our players by saying, okay, a guy's struggling, so let's showcase him and let's get him out of that funk. You're not getting him out of that funk. You shining a big, bright Laker light on him and saying, you better make the shot right now, or you're going to blow the whole possession, send the other team to the rim, and that's what usually happens. So I just think it's a whole mentality. It's a whole mentality. It's a whole way to try to do something and then focusing in on it and saying it's going to work. It's going to work. It's like, man, we have so many options. Can we not do this and just look at the broad opportunity we have here with all this that our team can do? Because I think that's a better way to do it. And so that's really what I got to say, man. Just continue to expect Taylor Jenkins to unleash his better bench players. Zaire Williams can play better than we've seen. Kenny Lofton can go out there and score 40. Luke Kennard can go for 36 points, 10 threes. We ain't seen none of that. And I don't know if I should be concerned by that or relieved or both. I don't know what the hell's going on with Taylor Jenkins, but I'm thankful. But I'm telling you, his team can be utilized 10, 12 times better than this. And he ain't doing it. He's just not doing it. And so I want to thank him once again for just dumbing down his strategy to meet our strategies. That's been very dumb, so that we can continue to be ahead of you guys in this series and hopefully end it soon. And Ja Morant, you were throwing a real monkey wrench and all of that, brother. I do not appreciate it at all. I get it. You're a star. You've had a big year. But stop. Just stop. Your team needs to go down. You guys got to learn a lesson. Ain't no parades. None of that. Stop it. Just stop, bro. Like, that was absolutely ridiculous. You were throwing a whole monkey wrench and the whole karma thing if you keep playing like that. No. You got to lose. That's how this got to go. Because the Los Angeles Lakers are well on their way to a showdown with the Sacramento Kings. I am standing firm on that. I think they want a rematch with us. I kind of want to see them again because I like that playoff atmosphere. We ain't seen it in 17 years. We ain't seen Golden State a million times. I'm cool on Golden State. Not only that, but that's Golden State, and I'd rather not try them in playoff situation. They actually have a little more experience than us in some cases. So it's like, I want to see Sac. May not be the greater matchup for us. I think Sac might be the better played team between the two of them. I prefer to play Sac, just for preference. And then at the end, hopefully somehow the Clippers are still there, even though I know they're going to be gone. That would be great to play a hobbled Clippers team in the Western Conference Final, to blow past them and then run into whoever we're going to see, preferably anyone but Boston, because I don't want Boston that close to the championship. I don't care if we get there or not. They can't get to the finals. Please, no. That's what I got to say about that. But given the way that Milwaukee's playing right now, it's a good chance Boston does get to the finals. But either way, that's me getting all off course. What I do want to see is our Lakers, of course, continue to focus on what we have to do while not thinking we're the only character in the game. There are many teams out here trying to get it. And if you're keeping an eye on Denver, you understand that may be the team we see in the end if we're lucky to get that far. Because the way they're playing against the Timberwolves is showing me that they have a level that they're still reaching with their players getting healthier. And so we need to continue to understand. Like I said, Ja Morant is not the only killer we're going to see. Jamal Murray's coming. De'Aaron Fox potentially. Steph Curry potentially. You know, there's some guys coming. Obviously in the Eastern Conference, if we're lucky to get that far. There's more to look at. So I don't want anybody to think that we're chilling. You know, Porter over in Denver, practically the best player in the playoffs right now. He's doing his best KD in impersonation. And I'm telling you, I didn't mention Phoenix. That doesn't mean KD can't will his team that far, because he was 10 for 11 in the last game on 30 points, 10 for 11. So it's like, when you know that you got to see people like that giving the team that's in front of you a mental edge, when they know and you know and everybody else knows that you can beat them, isn't wise. You do not want KD and Booker looking at that. You do not want De'Aaron Fox and Davion Mitchell and them dudes looking at that. Steph Curry and Clay looking at that. You don't want that. This is what I was referring to last night. The rest of the league is watching. And us being soft and playing with our food and having a big old cushion so we relax and letting Ja go crazy in the fourth for 22 points. What you think Steph gonna do? What you think De'Aaron Fox, the most clutch player of the year, gonna do? What you think JT Money gonna do? Giannis? Joel? Man, you let them see something like that, they're gonna be like, yep, for sure. I can give him 22 and a quarter. Easy. If Ja could do it, what you think Joel gonna say to himself? What you think Jokic's thinking? You think he can't do that in the fourth quarter? Come on, man. That's what I'm saying. Like, stop giving these teams the thought that they can actually do things to us that they shouldn't think they should be able to do with the type of lead we built yesterday. And they should have looked at that lead and said, you know what? We got to do some things differently when we're going to beat the Lakers. Because that's what a lot of them were probably thinking in the second quarter. As we were building that lead, that the first quarter, rather, that 34-9, they were looking at each other probably like, yeah, man. A team like Boston probably looking at like, you know, Giannis probably looking at like, and by the end of the game, they was like, you know what I'm saying? It's a vibe. Whether you win or lose, it's a vibe that the people are watching, feeling when they're watching the game. Or whether or not they believe you can really go to work or not. And if I walk away from that game yesterday, I just feel like the Lakers don't know how great they are. And so as long as we can keep them believing they're not as great as they are, or keep them focused on us instead of focused on the game, we can get in their head enough to get a chip into that armor. We can get into that. And that's really what I walk away saying as a competitor. If I'm trying to beat the Lakers, if I'm in any one of these locker rooms, that's what I'm saying. It's like, look, they're devastating, but they will take their foot off the gas because they're old and the coach is young. And when those moments happen, we just got to press hard. When he goes to that second quarter, you got to have a 35-point quarter. If you do that, you'll be in good shape to beat the Lakers. As long as you have a close game at the end, you got a chance. Because maybe they're going to do some things that ultimately don't help themselves, and as a result, you'll be in a position to have something heroic take place. No matter how great they are, they're going to play down to the level of the opponent. So, just keep your foot on the gas, keep believing, no matter how bad the league is, don't give up, and they'll let you back in. Darvin and the Lakers will let you back in. So that's really what I took from the win. And at this point, I don't question that anymore. And I've been so right about this stuff for so long. Throughout the season, I've had these rants. And it gets to a point where it's like, yo, I know the mentality of a winner. And we still have some work to do. We had it in the first half. But just like always, we went back to who we normally are and just displayed our weakness. And so, if we want that to be who we are, we got to understand that we're not the toughest team to beat. And eventually we're going to fall. But if we don't want that to happen, we got to start making some changes and start finding ways to duplicate what we did in the first half, in the first quarter, throughout, and not allowing a few missed shots on the other side determine whether or not we need to continue to go hard. Because that's what we did. You know what I mean? They shot 1,000,000 bricks, and we just thought we were the best thing ever after that and didn't have to play no more. And while we could believe whatever we want, at the end of the day, they're going to keep coming. A guy like John Moran ain't going to die. What you think that is? See the type of year he's having, you think he ain't going to believe he can come back and do something? I mean, what does he have to lose? You know, his hand's supposed to be hurt, and he went off for 1,000,000 points. The belief he's going to have in himself going forward is that I can do more, and should have did more. And if I would have had as big good of first quarter as I had in the second quarter, I'd have been trying to get 82. You know what I mean? On Laker floor in the playoffs. So that's how Ja's looking at this. It's like, what's stopping me from doing that to them all game long, if not for fatigue? Like, that's what I'll be saying. Like, can I do that all game long? Will I need to if other guys hit shots? Will I need to if our coach bench Brook like he's supposed to? You know? Will I need to if our coach does other things? He may be saying. And so that's what concerns me. Because I know if I was over there, you know, wearing their colors, even though I kind of am. It's the Lakers on mine, though. But even if I was on their side, these would be the things I'd be saying if I was BDF 44 for the Grizzlies. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, The Lakers need to get their stuff together. Tighten up, man. Because I smell blood on for the opponent. Even though they won, I'm like, man, can we run this back? If I'm Grizzlies, I'm like, can we run this back? Because there's some things we could do differently. And we can win that same game. And that's the problem. That's the problem. You know what I'm saying? So I don't like that. I don't like that at all. They were well represented out there. Glorilla was at the game. Yo Gotti was at the game. Everybody was at the game. Moneybag was at the game. And in the first half, they thought their team was out of here. In the second half, they probably felt like, well, we got a nice game to watch in LA. Let's just stick around, buy some tickets for the next one. We'll see them again because our team going to win in game 4. That's how they walked away. And I don't like that. I do not like that. So that's what I got to say about that, man. We got to represent better. I think our city, obviously our arena was loud. I want to credit the fans. It was awesome in that game. It was exactly what I was hoping to see. We got to duplicate that in game 4 and for the rest of the playoffs. No question about it. Wish we didn't have to go back to Memphis. We would have took care of game 2. We wouldn't have to go back to their city. Well, we will have to go back to their city. So we got to be ready for that. That game, even though we don't want to get ahead of ourselves, regardless of what situation we're in that game, I can guarantee you that environment is going to be very hostile for us. Because everything we gave Dillon Brooks, they're going to give to our guys. Please believe it. Please believe that. So, it is what it is. We got to take care of home court, though. We still got a lot of business to take care of. We still have 2 games we must win to get out of this series happy. So let's do that, LA. You know what I'm saying? Let's do that. LeBron James, AD, Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura. We need you guys to step forward, continue to play well. D'Lo, Schroeder, get your act together for real. And coach, get your act together, man. Bench other guys that should not be out there. Sort them out in better rotations and continue to look on, to continue to do things that work, that have worked, that we're finding works. Defense to offense is how we win. And making sure we take care of the details of what we have to do will ultimately lead us to victory. So that's what I have to say, man. I appreciate everybody for watching BDF 44.